Yo, what is up, guys? My name is Kareem. I know you guys typically know me for gaming videos, or the few of you guys that may know me for gaming videos do know me because of my gaming videos. But today we're going to be pushing the controller aside. We're going to be talking about fantasy football, and namely the 2018 fantasy football season. We're looking way ahead here, and I've got my top 10 rankings, early rankings, way too early rankings, so to speak. But we're going to be posting or talking about those today, and it's going to be kind of a quicker video, hopefully. I've done this commentary once or twice here now, and I just haven't liked how it turns out, at least till this point. So we're going to see how these things go. We're going to kick things off. I want to get into things pretty quickly here. I do want to quick mention, though, that I have very little talent when it comes to making visuals, so something to watch when it comes to this. I'll probably just throw up some highlight video of some sort. I know the NFL is very, very strict when it comes to copyright of their films, of their usage. So I'm going to have to be really careful with what I put behind it. But I'm going to find something, and if you guys want to watch it, you can. If you don't, you can just, throw this to the side, listen to me, and hopefully you don't think this commentary is too bad, or my thoughts are bad, or the rankings are bad, or anything. But frankly, it's the internet, so at least half of you guys are going to be insulted by what I say, I think. I think that's how it works, but whatever. We're going to kick things off, my top 10 fantasy football rankings for 2018. The way too early edition. So Le'Veon Bell's my number one guy right now. I know it's kind of weird to those of you who are just very firmly on the recency bias for Todd Gurley, but Le'Veon Bell is incredible. 2017 was his least efficient year since his rookie year, and he missed week 17, yet he finished the season ranked second at running back. That seems to be somewhat of a floor to me. The injury bug is a concern. He has missed like 2 of 3 years in a row now because of injury, but Bell made it through 2017 healthy and is still in his prime. For the time being, as long as he's a Steeler next year, which obviously isn't guaranteed, he's my number one overall pick for 2018. My number 2 guy is Todd Gurley, and I really tried hard, guys, to put Zeke here. I compiled his stats, I progressed them out to 16 games, I baked in some regression for Gurley, and I couldn't do it. Todd Gurley won many people their league in 2017, including knocking me out of the playoffs not once, not twice, but 4 times. And he's playing on one of the youngest, most explosive offenses in the NFL. Just to add to the appeal here, Seattle may be losing permanently pieces from its defense next year, and Arizona seems to be headed in the wrong direction as well. I do want to note, however, that we have seen Gurley's floor, and it was very ugly. While it was with Jeff Fisher as the head coach, I still think it may be lower than Zeke's floor, and that's what really initially put the idea in my head that maybe we can put Zeke up at 2, but alas, here we are. It's been a great year for him, and there's an easy case from at 1, but it really is just preference, especially when it comes to the top 3 guys here and in my top 5 tier, so to speak, as well. But well done, Mr. Gurley, on a great year. You bounced back, and you proved me wrong. Oh, my gosh. So we're going to be getting into number 3 here. We got Ezekiel Elliott, and you know who Zeke is, right? The man who finished as RB9 despite only playing in 10 games last season, missing 6 for suspension. That saga luckily is over for 2018. And if you extrapolate that 10-game pace, or that 10-game season, so to speak, for Zeke, over 16 games, he would have finished with 284 standard fantasy points, which is good enough for RB2 on the season. And I bet you guys could have guessed who RB1 still would have been. Still, Zeke combines a ridiculous floor with a ridiculously high ceiling and is truly a no-brainer pick for me at number 3. Coming in at number 4, we have David Johnson. Do not forget about DJ. Not that you were going to, but his fantasy appeal does take a hit here all the way down to number 4 in this year's rankings, as opposed to number 1 as he was, pretty much everywhere for last year. He's still a threat for 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards, but the uncertainty at QB is enough for me to push him down to 4, at least for the time being. We're literally picking nails here. I'm just picking the ones that aren't DJ, at least, until a 4th overall, spot. Yikes. Coming at number 5 for me, I have Antonio Brown. Now, this is operating under the assumption, which is maybe the wrong assumption, but the assumption that Big Ben does return for 2018. I say, alas, Mr. Brown makes an appearance in the top 5 and in his typical tier 1 level. I'm nervous about Ben this year, as I said. If he comes back, Brown is still easily the number 5 pick off my board, and he really rounds out this top 5 tier for me. If I'm picking anywhere, I want to pick 4th or 5th in the fantasy drafts for next year because I secure a really good player, and then I have the time to loop around and get a pretty good value in the 2nd round as well. But back to Antonio Brown, he's easily my number 5 pick. If you want to feel confident that you will not botch your 1st round pick, you should snag Antonio Brown because he led the league in receiving yards last year despite missing the last 2 games. He closes out the tier of fantasy football players for my 2018, tier 1 guys. as I have said. And Antonio Brown has been ridiculously consistent. I'm a big guy that's keen on consistency. I don't like to take a lot of risk in the first round. If I'm going to take risk, I want to take a little bit later on. I want to get an anchor. I want to get somebody that I can trust, and Antonio Brown fits that bill for me. Coming in at number 6, which is, the point in the draft where things get a little bit trickier. Tier 2 for these guys, they're not necessarily filled with risk, but they're filled with ifs questions that could definitely alter their fantasy value really at any point, depending on the outcome of these ifs questions, so to speak. But as I said, here's where it gets trickier. Tier 2 is filled with these players who pose that weird risk. And 6 for me is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt took the fantasy community by storm last season, averaging nearly 30 points per game as he entered the season, or entered his fantasy career. I guess really his football career, but all we care about is his fantasy career, right? Weeks 1 through 3 averaged 30 points per game, or just about 30 points per game, and he re-arose like a magician just in time for the fantasy football playoffs, averaging 23 points per game during weeks 14, 15, and 16, leading many of his owners, not including me, to championships. Now, the Chiefs were 6-0 when they fed Kareem Hunt 20-plus carries a game last year, and I don't know about you, but that seems like a pretty easy formula to me. Hunt also led the league in broken tackles in 2017, and he broke tackles on 27.4% of his touches last year. I stole that from Football Outsiders. It was too ridiculous not to post. I get Spencer Ware's coming back, and that's his if, so to speak, but I'd expect him to play more of a Kareem Hunt role for Kansas City than a Kareem Hunt role, and that's if Spencer Ware makes the team at all. Coming in at number 7, we have Melvin Gordon. Now, Melvin Gordon is not the most efficient running back in the world, and that's really his if. That's his if question. He was under 4 yards per carry for a second straight year, but he still found fantasy success while posting a yards per carry of under 4 in the back-to-back years, the last 2 years. Like I said, I'm kind of tripping over myself, but oddly enough, despite averaging less than 4 yards per carry in 2017, he was second in the league in broken tackles on rushes last year. Now, Melvin Gordon will be 25 next year, and he will reap the rewards of Forrest Lamp, the offensive guard with the best name in football, returning. He'll remain busy in the passing game, and he'll be busy on the goal line, and he definitely deserves a spot in the top 7 for fantasy football purposes next year. Now, if you've noticed, we've had somewhat of a pattern thus far. We've only had one wide receiver. It's been very RB heavy, and I've kind of noticed, at least next year, the running back position seems to be kind of, somewhat, there seems to be a good amount of depth there for the first time in a long time. There's a lot of guys that either get a lot of volume or are just extremely explosive. Number 8 is going to kind of, crack the little pattern we have going here. It's DeAndre Hopkins, who was another 2017 disappointment, but he sneaks his way into the top 10, just like Todd Gurley did. I fought really hard and seriously considered putting Alvin Kamara here, but Hopkins was just truly remarkable in 2017. He never scored fewer than 7.3 standard fantasy points coming from a receiver. That's crazy. And he provided fantasy owners with remarkable consistency. Do not forget that Deshaun Watson looms and will return in 2018. And before Watson went down, Hopkins averaged over 14 points per game, and his 16-game pace for 2017 would have placed him with 234 fantasy points had Watson not gotten down or not gotten hurt, or, that was his pace, whatever. And that would have been good enough for 5th among flex players. That is one spot ahead of Melvin Gordon. 2016 still reigns fresh in my mind, but Hopkins is a no-brainer top 10 pick for me for 2018. Number 9, we have Alvin Kamara, and I don't really know what to say about Alvin Kamara except for the fact that he's good. He's very efficient, and there's not much else I can't fathom it. Until Mark Ingram leaves town, it'll be tough to take Alvin Kamara in the top 5, but I do expect Kamara's role to grow while Ingram's role decreases next year. Ingram's getting old. I even think there's a chance that Ingram gets moved this offseason. Now, Kamara now speaking, he likely won't average 6 yards per carry again next season, but the talent is legit here. Draft him with confidence and enjoy finding a running back with number 1 player in fantasy upside at the end of the first round. Rounding out my top 10, and maybe somewhat of a surprise, but it feels weird that he's this low, is Odell Beckham Jr. Now, OBJ has QB concerns for next year. That is certain. We don't know who's going to be there. But that frankly doesn't bother me. His quarterback play has not been, superb over the last 3 years. And with a defense that appears leaky and a target share of over 25% over his past 2 seasons, Beckham will bounce back and in a big way next season. Considering you can pair him with a top running back early in the second round, and what appears to be a very deep 2018 draft, I'd feel very happy landing Odell Beckham Jr. at the end of the first round. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do not typically do these kind of videos, but I do think I'm going to be doing these a little bit more frequently now, maybe once a week. And I'm also going to be doing fantasy baseball videos because I love fantasy baseball. And like I said, I hope you guys just enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. Us fantasy nerds got to do something to pass the time while we wait for the upcoming fantasy season. Like this video if you enjoyed it, please. I like the support. It really boosts my ego when I see you guys liking my videos, and it makes me feel warm on the inside in a weird way. And subscribe for more fantasy football, some more fantasy baseball, and some gaming content as well. If you guys don't want to see the gaming content, you can just not watch it and still subscribe to me. That would be ideal. I plan on uploading some Madden franchise content and maybe some other games as well if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But I'd like to say thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.